Awesome. So I'm excited for this one, the Schbang podcast. It's a very special one because we are going to talk a little bit about something that we don't usually talk about.
Thank you.
About building technology products.
Yeah.
And for the listener, we've got a guest, internal guest, one of us, Deepak Choubey. And I want to preface this a little bit. Usually Schbang doesn't really hire from the large technology institutes like IITs, but Deepak is one of the people who's got a background with IIT, who's got a background with technology, and he plays the role of Chief Operating Officer at our joint venture SchbangQ. The Qgroup is an IT consulting company with over 800 consultants serving primarily the Nordics, and Deepak is our Chief Operating Officer running the joint venture we have with Qgroup. Now we ran this joint venture, or we decided to do this joint venture because we thought we had a right to serve clients with their IT requirements, and now we've zeroed down on product development.
Yeah.
So I want to talk actually, Deepak, on this podcast, if there's a client, potential client listening and wanting to consider us for product development. I want to talk more about that and the process that we undertake when we are building a product for a client. So
Sure.
My first question is that this.
How about that? I mean, before you ask me a lot of questions, let me ask you one question, because that will be good to understand the overview of it. What was your golden circle of before starting this? I mean, why, how, and what? What were the gaps did you see in the market? I mean, after coming from a lot of experience with in the servicing industry, what was your experience into this, and which really threw you over the activation energy to start this completely different IT servicing and into the product?
Yeah, so the why is, I think a lot of companies as well as brands are now getting to stage of digital maturity. What I mean by digital maturity is that they would have done maybe 6, 7, 8 years of Instagram building. They would have built the YouTube platforms. They would be having very strong compliant websites. Facebook is now part and parcel for them. They would have done innovation. They would have done a bunch of awards. They would have won a bunch of awards. And then what's happening with marketing is that marketing and IT are kind of
interlocked.
Yeah, they're kind of interweaving. And also marketing and sales is interweaving. And marketing and product experience and customer experience is interweaving. Right. So what we saw is a natural evolution is where the marketing organization or the CMOs team has to be able to add value to the organization in addition to all of this, by also adding value to create deep relationships with customers. So yes, there is the marketing funnel where you'll have reach, you'll have awareness, you'll have salience, you'll be responsible for governing the marketing programs that drive growth. And then there is the importance of building deep relationships, communities, things like that, which so far through social media has been lip service. So therefore comes in the role of adding value to the customer's life through a digital product.
Through scalable systems.
Through a digital product, which actually might be a revenue generating channel or a non-revenue generating channel. Let's take for example, a revenue generating channel where you are able to sell through an app product, or you're able to sell through a tech product, which may be a website based focused. Let's take for example FeviCreate, what they've done with the platform that they've built, where you can you can sell more arts and crafts. So that whole digital ecosystem is, I think, needed more than a digital agency alone. And I saw the need for us to strengthen ourselves there. So that's when we went out and built this joint ventures with respect to SchbangQ, to bring an IT systems thinking and IT systems processes for the build side of product to be able to cater to clients in the market.
So that's a very fast and great pivot considering CX, customer experience.
So I want to ask you this, because that's a good point that you raised with respect to the segue of the why. Now I want you to talk more about the how.
Yeah.
If a customer is coming to us, let's say, we are a bike engine oil manufacturer, and we want to deepen relationship with customer. Market context is this, that we've got a dominant competitor in our industry who people think is superior, and then I have some vague idea in my head that I should do a digital product because I got leapfrog. I could leapfrog through technology and drive my brand credentials higher. So what are the steps we would undertake to, if it's got a high level brief like this, how do we break it down to create a digital product proposal?
Yeah, so when any customer comes to that with such problem statement, we directly, on a discovery call, we directly jump into their problem statement, what they want. If they want to build an app, for example, then we try to understand the entire market landscape through direct and indirect competition, the parity analysis in the market, and
the what analysis?
The parity analysis. Parity analysis, or the where the gap is. There are many frameworks like Waterfall process or SWOT analysis. There are many ways through which you can actually understand कि market क्या offer कर रही है, उनको क्या चाहिए, और दोनों के बीच में जो gap है, which could be your USP, what you can offer to your consumer. So we try to understand that, and there are different ways to do that. You can also do decision trees. There are many frameworks to actually find out exactly where the gap is in the market and what could be the USP of it. So once you do that, then you can propose to the customer, okay, this is the current market offering by your direct competitors or indirect competitors, and this is which you really want to deliver as per your vision of the company, and these are the few areas which is not there in the market but consumer wants. And how do you figure out that? You can do survey analysis, you can do through these different frameworks, you can actually find out. There are many platforms where you can actually understand the voice of customer. So you can find out that, and post that, once you are ready with what exactly to be built, then you deep dive into the processes, how you build.
So I just want to add one thing there, because and I think this is where the beautiful magic of the partnership between Schbang and SchbangQ comes in, because exactly like you said, first before you evaluate what the market standing is on digital product, you need to understand also, and that's why Schbang teams would also come in, where you need to understand whether this digital product will actually move the needle or not. So if you're a motorcycle oil company and your competitors got higher market share, and for every net new customer that comes in, we would go into a survey process to try to understand that for every net new customer comes in, what is their predisposition towards competitor, what is their predisposition towards you, and how many are indifferent. And therefore, with the creation of this new digital product, can we actually win over the indifferent ones? Because the one who's going to come and buy you is anyway going to come and buy you. That's what any CMO would tell me, saying if consumers are anyway preference towards you, why do I care to build this? Then if customers' preference towards competitor brand, also it's more difficult to win that customer because they have a preference. And then there will be a middle ground who will be
they are indifferent. They can either buy from you or from your competitors, depending on when they want and what they want and who is offering the best.
Exactly, and that's where we then try to say that how the journey, how this digital product, it may be an app, it may be a website, it may be a marketplace, it may be a community. This investment is going to nudge that customer towards you and make you win that customer sitting on the table who is undecided. That is effectively what a good investment is about.
Yes, that's the immediate market which you can capture, and from there you can evaluate and deep dive into the how you can build that platform.
Yeah.
And that's where I mean I can give you one such example of one of the product which we built for one of our Swedish customer. They were in the same shoes. They didn't know how exactly to build, and it happens nowadays. People not exactly know what to build. That's where the research part comes in, and post that when we deep dive into how they can build, so we have to lay down few ideas like version 1 of the low fidelity, version 2 of the low fidelity, and depending on user testing. In the beginning you not many people do this, but there is user testing on the design part as well, where you understand the UX part of it. So after verifying that, it sometimes is very counterintuitive. And basis on that, you finalize one product that okay, this will be the need of the market, this will be the greed of the consumer, and this is what they want. So UX is one of the area where we have also built our expertise on, and it's very interesting because not many people understand that. For example, like calculus or differentiation is how Newton has broken down into the fundamental to its fundamental first principle. Even UX can be broken down mathematically into its first principle. For example, what is 1 point on a white screen is? What do that mean? What does that mean? So it's where the designer wants your attention in simple language, and that is the most fundamental part of design, any design. But if you put another dot, maybe into the corner or near that same dot, it means user want your attention divided on both these dots, right? So user experience is basically how the product is grabbing the attention of the user. How if it is more chaotic, CTA is here on all the corners and the center, then user goes confused and haywire, and they won't be able to stick on the product. So to build a very interesting or very user friendly app or a SaaS product, UX is very important just after the research, and then developers takes the work. And
so let me dive in on this UX process.
Yeah.
What are some of the compliance checklists that you would build and run around to have a strong UX framework?
So the UX team sits here is really good. They have a lot of frameworks already in house, like Baker's Law, Fick's Law. They have many frameworks where they try to understand the cognitive load, how much user has to even track, has to roam around the screen to get what the designer wants them to understand or feel. So there are many frameworks where you can actually from the you can actually track all the space on the screen through that different framework, and you can exactly put what you want from that part. For example, in any SaaS product, you see generally there is a left navigation tab, right? From the screen there is a controller comes in on the left navigation tab, and then you click around that and then you see something. So designer has fixed the user experience of that product in such a way that to control the entire product you have to see on the left, and to get out of what you want from that tab you have to see in the right. Now if suddenly there is a right navigation also or the top navigation also, then user gets a little confused whether to see from left to right or from top to down. So that cognitive load,
how do you spot some of these cognitive loads?
You have to do user testing according to the framework.
Right.
For example, you need to also understand how to talk to user. Like there is a very interesting book called Bombs Test, where you understand exactly how to talk to users. Then there is a book on human nature, where you understand how user want to be on a digital screen. It's not your good app which will help them to be on the app. It's their past of using the different apps which will help them to retain on the app. That is why user testing is very important. Even though if you think it's a great app, no, it doesn't, because if user is not able to do the same way which they have been doing on the other apps, then it won't make sense to them. For them it's a high cognitive load app. And there also designs, colors, fonts, these things comes into the picture. you can't have multiple fonts on the screen, because with one font they try to, for example, why there is a bold on the left navigation tab, because that's the controller of the entire product. So when there is a bold, they think, okay, this is the category which I'm looking into. They won't try to deep dive into it. For deep diving into it, they will look at the other fonts.
Got it.
So these frameworks really helps. There is a complete science behind it. How you even why even there is a CTA button on the right bottom corner. Why it's not on the left side? Because from left there is always a tendency to look into the right.
Yeah. So thanks, Deepak, for that. In terms of some of these thorough protocols for UX, and I want to deep dive into this app that you said we built for our Swedish customer. This the Quest, I think, is what you call it.
Yeah.
Would you be able to talk me through the entire journey of building that product, and how complex is that product currently?
So anything related to human is very complex nowadays, and the product was basically to improve the internal culture of the company, the training of the company, and engagement within the organization. Because we have seen that with growing digitalization, more and more people are coming on screen, and that is why more and more dopamine they are, because a good UX or UI helps you to release a lot of dopamine, and that's when you feel drained. So what happens is, when you feel drained after working a lot on the screen, you don't feel like engaging with the people directly, and that's where the culture or the engagement within the company decreases. And it was very interesting that they have figured out this problem and they wanted to do something about it, and it was also a great learning experience for us. And while we were building it, the complex nature of consumer we understood, and on those three part we have built a framework in the entire product Quest. What it does is, you get into the platform, there are 6 different books where you have to log in. What happens in those books, you click on one book, there are different sets of questions, and those questions are very interesting in a way. One question is like, take your team out on a dinner, or give your team a training. When you take out your team on dinner, you have to put it on LinkedIn. So what happens, you are able to engage with your team while taking them out on a dinner, and you are actually interacting human to human. So internal engagement increases. When you are training, your capability increases, so productivity of the company increases, and when you are putting on LinkedIn, the overall marketing of the company also improves. So this is one example, small example, and there are 40 different questions in every book, and those were very strategic to this. So you have to do those questions again. If you have to train, there is a LMS part in the product. If you have to redeem the you are getting.
So the product that you built has got an LMS.
Yeah.
It's got a reward mechanism where you have to follow certain steps to unlock rewards.
Yeah.
And there's a reward redemption.
Yeah.
Correct. These are the 3 things that you're saying. So it's a fairly complex product. How long does a product like this take to build?
So it took us around 6 months to build this end-to-end product.
And what kind of how large was the team working on this product?
It was 5-member team.
5-member team working full time on building this product.
Yeah.
Over 6 months.
Yeah, and those were one of the smartest individual hired from professional hackathons. So it was a very sharp team.
Got it. I'll come to your your hackathon bit also. It's an interesting point you touched upon. But I want to talk through these 6 months of product development. What are the steps? Step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for product development.
So to simplify it, research, design, development, maintenance. In the maintenance, you check bugs and all, and then user onboarding.
Right.
So that you also get to understand what are the user complications. So these are the 5 overall.
So in this particular case of research, what is the research?
So research, what we did is, there are many LMS in the market, there are many reward mechanism in the market, and there are many engagement tool in the market. But if you see, there are a lot of users on the online platforms who have used such products for more than 3 to 4 years, and what they have to say about such products. So we did a direct and indirect competitor analysis, where we have analyzed over 50 different parameters of every such direct and indirect competitors.
Right.
And we also analyzed about the users, what they
Right.
have to say on such platforms.
Right.
We didn't take those users who have just used it for a month or two, because those are not very reliable. Those are more compulsion of feedbacks. But if you should see those users who have used it for 2 years, 3 years, then those feedbacks are really, really important to incorporate into those products. So we also eliminated those issues which user might face in the future, and that saves a lot of time in the maintenance or post building, that is testing. So yeah, it is, we have kept it more on the user centric.
So that's the research part of it.
That's the research part of it.
Then you go into.
Then we directly jumped into low fidelity.
Okay.
Low fidelity designs of the product.
Right.
It product manager with the help of one designer, one designer who has good UX designer who has good understanding.
So this 5 people team, let's break that down also. You have one product manager, one UX designer.
One product manager, 2 UI UX designer, 2 developers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. So that's
and it's not a constant team. I mean, it won't be throughout the journey. Post development you have to do deployment.
Right.
So you also hire DevOps guy.
Right.
But
you'll also have a tester.
Yeah, you also have a tester.
So it's roughly 5 people, but the composition of those 5 people keep changing, and that's the setup that we built at SchbangQ.
Yeah, and that's the agile methodology you follow to do optimized.
So what is agile methodology?
So you have seen relay race, right?
Yeah.
Relay में क्या होता है, बंदा या बंदी उस इक्विपमेंट को सामने वाले को देता है, वो उसको लेके भागता है. सो इसको कहते हैं वाटरफॉल.
राइट.
मैंने पहले लो फिडिलिटी बनाया, फिर मैंने डिज़ाइनर को दिया, वो हाई फिडिलिटी बनाना चालू किया. इमेजिन लो फिडिलिटी बनाने में को 1 महीने लगे और उसको हाई फिडिलिटी बनाने में 2 महीने लगे. बट लो फिडिलिटी में डे 1 को अगर मैंने जो भी डिज़ाइंस बनाए, अगर वो सेम डिज़ाइन को डे 2 से हाई फिडिलिटी बनाने वाला बंदा अगर बनाना चालू करे, so it will be much more faster, right? It's a parallel work.
Yeah.
So same in a layman term, that's the agile way of working.
Swedish friends are not going to understand Hindi, but it's good. Maybe they'll use Google Translate, look it up. But yeah, I mean that's interesting. that's interesting. This agile methodology that we are using, and
it happens throughout from the research. If the research person has finalized few things, then low fidelity designer starts designing into it.
Got it.
And then the high fidelity, and the moment when one high fidelity design is ready, developer can jump in.
Got it. So we've spoken a little bit about UX, we've spoken a little bit about research. I want to switch gears now to speak about development and how unique is development for us at SchbangQ. I want you to talk a bit about that also.
Yeah. So development is I think to understand development, we have to understand developers, because it's a whole set of community which is driven by competence, and they stick if they keep learning around it.
Right.
So, I mean, I don't have a lot of background in coding. Of course, I have done 1 year of coding at CERN, at ICICI Bank. I was building algorithms, but I'm not a very pro coder. So, but to maintain, if you can give them, okay, this is the way from where you can learn about different ways of coding, or there are ideal ways of, standards of coding. So you have to take care of indentation. Let's say you have to understand what is the ideal way of commenting on the code, because if you develop a standard way that this is how you can code for a scalable system, so that when other developers are coming in, they are not finding a lot of problem to understand the entire process through which it has been coded out. If it's easier to understand, and how you can keep the documentation great throughout the process. So, and also they have to be motivated throughout the process. So if those internal processes, of course there are certain trade secret which I can't directly tell you, but if you have kept the internal processes intact in the company and your coders are enjoying the processes, then they attract great coders. Coders attract great coders into the company, and when they come into, then you see the beauty of their optimized coding, because for them, learning part is not looking out for one problem, for one error. If they are looking out on the internet again and again, then their productivity is getting down. But if they have smart people around, they just directly talk to them, and then the entire, this becomes very,
what are
very
some of the
optimized.
coding processes that you would have set up in the SchbangQ team? One is, you've spoken about the idea of attracting high quality coders, and which is what we are doing. And I will come back to the hackathon in just a second. But just like you spoke about agile methodology with respect to low fidelity into high fidelity, if you could touch upon anything with respect to development there, that would be useful.
So one very again and again problem for coders is they have built out the code, they have built out the design, but again there are changes. So what they do is, when they have complete understanding of the entire flow, they develop it in a certain way. There is a certain way to develop the entire product.
Right.
But if you give them changes in between, then they have to redevelop the entire framework through which they are visualizing the product.
Correct.
So one part, and it is the most critical part, which is there after me talking to a lot of coders, is that thing. You have to be very, very clear on this is the design.
So what is the documentation that enables that?
So there is a tracker which we have internally in the company, where they see one interface from low fidelity, from research to low fidelity to high fidelity, and being logged for the design, for the development. And then they will give you the staging link. But and it goes through multiple ways of feedback. For example, research is done, then there is a feedback on it from the PM. Once the feedback is logged, then goes to the UI, then there is a feedback. If there is a feedback, iteration 1 of the design. Once that is logged, iteration 2, if there is another feedback. Once UI is logged, low fidelity, then it goes to the design. Design link is there, you give the feedback. Again, feedback comes from users and feedbacks come from the product managers, right? And sometimes the internal team. Once that is locked, again iteration 2 of the design. Once that is again locked, then developers comes into the picture.
Awesome.
And they only touch those screens which has been locked.
Got it. Yeah, and I think and this is somewhere, I'm glad you're answering this way, because this is somewhere answering my why, which you asked me at the start, which is that we would like to help companies who want to build lasting digital products to be able to create it in this lasting fashion, with consumer orientation, with understanding of market, with due process on, due protocol on process, where it's built in a high quality fashion such that it does not break at all. And somewhere we are able to bring the magic of Indian ingenuity and hard work and the Swedish principle of good quality and craftsmanship.
I think they are wonderful craftsmen.
Yeah.
They design their product in such a way that you will keep loving it after seeing it.
So that's what I want to ask you also, like now we've got, we've decided to do a joint venture. See, we could have done this individually also, but in this product development journey, we've decided to do a joint venture. So what are some of the things you picked up from our joint venture partners at Qgroup and the developers and the project managers there, that we are now also imbibing in this fused DNA of the company we are building?
So, see, the core of the product are divided into 3 parts, any core of the product. And if I talk about my Swedish partnership, Swedish partners, then they are very, very patient people, and they never rush when it is important part of the product. For example, the 3 aspect of the product is good user understanding, good design, and good code quality. These are the major 3 aspect of it. And they give their entire whole and soul of their hard work into it, their craftsmen into it. And if you see the design, it will be flawless. It simply looks flawless. You see products internationally, you see Swedish products like Spotify, you see the code quality of it. It's just flawless. There is no retention, there is no gap, there is no delay, there is no lag. it's a wonderful example of understanding the code quality. And there is one gap which is between Indian market and there is यहाँ पे थोड़ा attitude है चलता है. Once a decent amount of code has been done, it's like chalta hai.
Right.
But that is one of the great inspiration we have taken from there. And no, nahi chalta hai. For us, it's nahi chalta hai.
That's for SchbangQ also.
For SchbangQ, nahi chalta hai.
Yeah.
We have to do end to end and in the flawless manner.
Yeah.
And
so I think that's a great point, for our teams listening or any potential customer listening. I think for us, we are not one to crunch the timelines.
Yeah.
We want to deliver on flawless product.
Flawless product, scalable product. Once it is built, your entire generation can see it. You won't find a lot of bugs back and forth and stuff like that. It's a patient work.
Yeah,
but
through
once
timeless
it is done,
design, timeless UX, and understanding of where it is. And
Yeah.
yes, I mean, probably, and also in such a case, product investment from a customer of ours would be easily between a 5 crore to 15 crore project per se.
Yeah.
So, you won't take such a bet if it's not a bet worth taking.
Yes.
And we won't give you something which won't be worth.
There have been times where we have said no to the customer because we think the expectations were not reasonable. Right? Because if you are expecting.
I like that you use reasonable.
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes expectations are not reasonable because they don't understand what goes into building a product. It's like developing and nurturing a kid when you build a product.
Yeah. It's not the landing page mindset.
It's not the landing page mindset.
That's the other reason why we did this, because there is, and yes, I think our credit to our technology teams also who build landing pages, and there's a whole science of it.
Yeah.
And Sohail has done a good LinkedIn post on the body craft, one where you really can tighten that.
Yeah, we have.
And there's tightening, but here it's a very it's a different. It's kind of like you need one more level of refinement to be able to build digital product, and that's one of the other whys. I think as the podcast is unfolding, you're already answering a lot of the whys we are doing this.
In Schbang, we have this 504 parameters on which we check any D2C website. There are 504 ways of auditing, and even if you have a shittier website, let's say it's a very bad website. If you just run through that 504 checklist, it will become a very beautiful website. So what we are talking about, the science behind developing a product is that.
Right.
Your internal processes of even QC becomes so much important that it just changes the look and feel of the product. So I think it needs good processes. It needs those people who really take that seriously, and it also needs those clients who really want to see their product as one of the wonderful product. अगर उनके लिए चलता है product बनाना है, तो then it will be a different kind of a work.
Got it. Okay, I think it's a good point for us to end part 1, and hopefully we do part 2 where we come back. I would love to, you're in the midst of developing some interesting products, so I'd love to do a part 2 where we really skin open a product, and maybe we'll do that with the quest that you already built.
Yeah, we can go through it if you want.
That'll be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I have. Do you have anything else before we sign off?
No, I think I'll just take some water.
Yeah, but this is, I think, so thanks a lot for taking through the process of product development. What I'm most excited about what we are building inside here is we are building a mindset of developing excellence backed by due process, backed with a lot of focus on quality control, and with a razor sharp focus on the consumer and on the category. So that's what I'm most excited about, and I really wish that what we are building really fructifies into what we've envisioned. We've already got a great start, and yeah.
I'm glad we did this because understanding from what perspective we are seeing this product development is not very clear to a lot of people out in the market. They think it's any other product development out there.
Right.
So we just have to get it done.
Right.
So, and it takes some time. and they don't have that patience. So once they understand what is the craftsmanship is going behind developing a product, I think that one of the very important thing which we always wanted to communicate to, and we communicate it first so that they know what they are getting into.
Awesome. Thanks, Deepak.
All right. Thank you so much for having me.